Sometimes life takes away everything you love, leaving you lost, broken, and desperate. But what if the greatest healing comes from the most unexpected place? Today, we share the touching story of Maya, a single mom fighting to save her sick baby, and Ethan, a paramedic whose kindness became a lifeline, and so much more. Stay with us as we uncover the 3 secrets to thriving after loss and the journey from grief to gratitude. This is a story about hope, healing, and the power of love to transform even the darkest moments. Maya believed in love stories, the quiet kind, the ones built over burnt toast, morning kisses, and shared glances across a dinner table. For 5 years, she had loved one man, Daniel, her husband, her best friend, the father of their little miracle, Liam. They didn't have much, a rented 2-bedroom apartment, mismatched furniture, and secondhand baby clothes, but it was enough. They had joy, they had each other. And above all, they had dreams, small but deeply cherished. Every morning, Daniel would kiss Maya's forehead before leaving for work and whisper, "I'll be home before the rain." It became their inside promise, their daily rhythm. But on one fateful Thursday evening, the skies had other plans. Maya stood at the window, watching the rain pour, waiting. Dinner was ready. His favorite, peppered chicken stew. Liam was babbling in his crib, dressed in a tiny blue pajama set Daniel had picked out the week before. But Daniel was late, unusually late. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She hesitated, picked it up. "Hello?" A cold, unfamiliar voice replied. "Ma'am, are you the wife of Daniel Okoro?" Maya's heart dropped. "Yes, who is this?" "There's been an accident. I'm so sorry, but we need you to come to Mercy General Hospital immediately." Her breath caught. The room spun. She grabbed Liam, wrapped him in a blanket, and ran into the storm, barefoot, crying, praying. By the time she arrived, it was too late. Daniel was gone. A trailer had skidded on the wet road, crushing his car on impact. He died instantly. Just like that, the world stopped spinning for Maya. She fell to the floor, clutching Liam tightly, screaming in a voice so raw it made the nurses cry. The next few weeks blurred together. Funeral arrangements, condolences, empty casseroles from neighbors. Everyone said the same things. "He's in a better place." "You're so strong, Maya. God gives his hardest battles to his strongest soldiers." But Maya didn't feel strong. She felt shattered, forgotten, alone. Her nights were silent battles. Liam would cry and she'd rock him while crying harder. She stopped answering calls, stopped opening curtains. The sunshine felt offensive, like it didn't know that her world had ended. She looked in the mirror one night and whispered, "I don't know how to do this without you, Daniel. I'm trying, but I'm so tired." Grief has a strange way of pressing pause on life. Everything moves, but you stay still. Yet somehow morning always comes. Babies need feeding, diapers need changing, bills demand attention. And Maya, she kept waking up, even when it hurt, even when she didn't want to. Because of Liam. Because even with her heart buried in sorrow, one part of her refused to die. The part that loved her son more than anything in the world. And in that love, a tiny ember of strength remained. What Maya didn't know was that her story wasn't ending. It was just beginning. It had been just 3 weeks since Maya buried her husband, but to her it felt like a lifetime. A lifetime of crying in the dark, of staring at the ceiling with empty eyes, of waking up to feed Liam and wondering, is this all that's left? She had learned to live moment by moment, smile when the baby smiled, breathe when the silence became too loud, survive. But grief, as it often does, wasn't finished with her yet. That night, Maya noticed something odd. Liam wasn't crying. He wasn't even fussing. At first she was relieved, but then, too quiet. She walked to his crib, reached down to gently stroke his cheek. It was damp, hot. His tiny chest moved, but barely. Then, in a terrifying instant, he stopped breathing. "Mama's here, baby. Please, please breathe," she cried, panic rising in her throat. She grabbed her phone, shaking, dialing 911 with trembling fingers. Her voice cracked as she screamed into the phone. "My baby's not breathing. Help me. Please help me." And that's when he came in, like light breaking into the darkest room. Tall, calm, focused. A man in a paramedic uniform, Ethan. He took one look at Maya's tear-stained face and the motionless child in her arms, and without hesitation, took over. "Maya, right? I need you to breathe for him, okay? I've got him now." Ethan worked quickly, his hands firm yet gentle. A small oxygen mask, careful chest compressions, monitors beeping, silent prayers. Time stood still, and then a sound Maya thought she'd never hear again. Liam cried. Loud, strong, alive. Maya broke. Every ounce of fear, grief, and helplessness came crashing out in waves of tears. She couldn't hold it back, and Ethan didn't say a word. He just sat with her, quiet, present, not trying to fix her, just being there. It wasn't part of his job, but he stayed. Hours passed. Doctors ran tests. Liam was stable, but Maya was frozen, exhausted in every way a person could be. Ethan walked back in, holding 2 cups of tea. "You didn't drink anything," he said gently. Maya looked up, her voice hoarse. "How did you know what I needed?" He smiled, the kind that's worn by people who've known their own share of storms. "Because I've been where you are. I lost someone too. And when I did, I didn't need answers. I just needed someone to stay." Ethan had once been on the other side. A widower. A father who knew the sound of a home that had gone too quiet. He knew what it meant to survive only because someone else needed you to. And in Maya, he saw his own pain reflected back. Raw, familiar, and full of strength she hadn't even realized she had. "I thought I'd lost everything," she said. "And then tonight, I thought I lost him too." "You didn't," Ethan replied softly. "He's still here. And so are you." For the first time in weeks, Maya breathed deeply. Not because the pain had gone, but because someone understood. That night, Maya didn't just meet a paramedic. She met someone who saw her, truly saw her, not as a grieving widow or a desperate mother, but as a woman standing at the edge of her own survival and choosing to fight. She didn't know it yet, but Ethan wasn't just passing through her life. He was walking in. And with him came something Maya hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Morning came quietly. No explosions, no sudden peace, just the slow creeping of light over pain. Maya's back ached, her neck was stiff, but none of that mattered. Her eyes immediately found Liam, sleeping peacefully. A faint blush of color returned to his cheeks. She let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding since the night before. And then, like a gentle whisper from the universe, she heard it again. His voice. "Morning, Mama Bear." Ethan hadn't left. Not all night. He could have signed his report, clocked out, and gone home to his quiet apartment, the one where only the fridge buzzed and the coffee never got shared. But instead, he stayed. Something about Maya, the sorrow in her voice, the fight in her eyes, had stirred something in him. Something he thought he'd buried with his past. "Maya, you're still here? Couldn't leave you alone with vending machine coffee. This one's actually hot." For a moment, Maya just stared at him. Not because she was surprised, but because she didn't know how to accept kindness anymore. Not after so much had been taken from her. But there it was. Kindness. Simple, undemanding, present. She took the coffee with both hands. Their fingers touched, briefly, like the softest kind of promise. In the weeks after Daniel's death, Maya had learned something heartbreaking. People are there when the tragedy is loud, but when the silence sets in, they disappear. She had gotten used to the silence, learned how to parent through it, how to cry quietly while making baby bottles, how to smile when Leah needed her to, even when her heart was breaking inside her chest. But this morning there was no silence. There was coffee, a shared sunrise, a man who stayed. They sat for a long time without talking. It wasn't uncomfortable, it was something else, like the space between them had formed a kind of quiet understanding. Then Ethan spoke. "Ethan, do you want to talk about him?" Maya looked down at her hands. She hadn't spoken Daniel's name in days, weeks maybe, but something in Ethan's voice, soft, non-judgmental, cracked the dam. Daniel was kind, the kind of man who danced while brushing his teeth. He'd sing to Liam every night, even when he was tired. He wanted 6 kids, she laughed bitterly. "We didn't even get a second." Her voice caught. "He would have known what to do last night. He would have saved Liam himself. Not me." I panicked. "Ethan, you did exactly what you were supposed to do. You called for help. That's what love does. It doesn't always have to know. It just has to try." That moment, more than anything, was what Maya needed. Not pity. Not hollow promises. Validation. The kind that reminds a grieving soul, you did your best. You are enough. You're still standing. And slowly, something inside her shifted. Discharge papers signed. Baby bundled in a blanket. The hallway stretched ahead, long, sterile, and unfamiliar. And yet, she didn't feel alone anymore. At the exit, Ethan handed her a small card. "Ethan." It's not official or anything. Just if you ever need someone to talk to, or if Liam gets sick again, or if you just need decent coffee. She stared at the card, his name, his number. And for the first time in weeks, she smiled. Not the kind of smile you force for photos. The kind that comes when someone finally sees you, not as the widow or the single mom or the woman barely holding it together, but just as you. Thank you for staying, for not treating me like I was broken. Ethan, reply pops up instantly. You're not broken, Maya. You're rebuilding, one brave breath at a time. She had no idea where life would take her from here. But she knew this much. The worst had already happened. And yet, she had survived it. And somewhere in the ashes of the life she had lost, something new was beginning to grow. Hope. Connection. And maybe the first traces of love. The rain had returned, but it didn't feel as heavy anymore. Maya still lived in the same small apartment, still faced the same bills, still navigated grief one breath at a time. But something had changed. Or maybe someone. Liam smiled at the banana song today. I cried. That's good. Smiling means progress, so does crying. Why do you say things like that? Because I mean them. It started as gratitude, then it became comfort, and slowly, comfort turned into something deeper. Maya hadn't laughed in months. Now she found herself laughing at Ethan's terrible jokes and thoughtful sarcasm. It terrified her. Therapist, you're allowed to feel more than one thing at a time, Maya. Grief and hope, sadness and curiosity, loyalty and love, they can coexist. She wanted to believe that. But guilt was a powerful ghost. Was it betrayal to feel connected to another man? Was she allowed to heal? And most frightening of all, was she willing to risk heartbreak again? Nurse. Hi, Miss Rivera. This is St. Anne's Clinic. Liam's blood work came back. Nothing alarming, but we noticed something off. We'd like you to come in. Her chest tightened. She thought they were past this, that Liam's crisis had ended, but life had a cruel way of reminding her. Healing isn't a straight line. Ethan, Maya, what's wrong? They said something was off. I don't know what it means. In moments like these, Maya's strength felt like a performance. She needed someone, and there he was, again, without being asked. Ethan, do you know what I learned in paramedic school? No, but you're about to tell me. Waiting is always the hardest part. The unknown can eat people alive, but I've seen miracles happen after the longest waits. That's what keeps me showing up. Maya looked at him, not as a stranger, not even as a hero, but as a man who had lived pain and still chose to believe in something better. It wasn't just his kindness anymore. It was his faith in life, in people, in her. And for the first time, she wanted to believe in something too. Doctor, good news first. Liam's recovering well. The anomaly we saw was a minor lab error. His immune system's catching up. Just more follow-ups and nutrition support. Maya's knees nearly give out. Ethan catches her by the elbow. She clutches his shirt and starts sobbing. Maya, you didn't have to stay, again. Yeah, but I wanted to. I don't know what this is. I'm still figuring things out. But you make the silence hurt less. Then I'll keep showing up until the silence becomes music again. It wasn't a whirlwind romance. It was quiet, patient, a friendship laced with gentle glances and growing trust, and somehow that made it more powerful. Maya was still grieving Daniel, but now she was also learning something new, that loving again doesn't mean forgetting, that the heart, when broken, doesn't shrink, it expands. Maya writes in her journal late at night, Liam is asleep. Outside, the rain has stopped. Today I realized something. Maybe I'm not just surviving anymore. Maybe I'm healing. And maybe healing doesn't mean going back to who I was, but becoming who I'm meant to be. Now with Liam, and maybe with Ethan. It had been 6 months since the night Maya and Ethan stood in the rain outside St. Anne's Clinic, under the same umbrella, hearts fluttering with unspoken truths. Life had settled into a gentle rhythm, not perfect, but healing. Liam was growing stronger, more curious each day, and Ethan's presence had become as familiar as the sunrise. Maya had learned to smile again, not the practiced kind she had used at Daniel's funeral or in front of doctors, but a real, soul-deep smile that came from somewhere warmer, somewhere newer. Ethan wasn't just a friend anymore. He had become her steady place, her safe one. But peace can often precede a storm. One crisp autumn afternoon, Maya found a letter in her mailbox. It was postmarked from Daniel's hometown. She almost tossed it aside, thinking it might be more old condolences or estate paperwork. But the handwriting on the envelope stopped her. It was from Daniel's mother, Marianne. Maya hadn't spoken to her since the funeral. Their relationship had always been complicated. Marianne had never fully approved of Maya. Too poor, too headstrong, too independent. Still, Maya opened the envelope, her hands slightly trembling. Inside was a letter that would change everything she thought she knew. Dearest Maya, there's something I should have told you a long time ago. Something Daniel wanted to, but never did. Before Liam was born, Daniel found out he had a hereditary heart condition. It was likely he passed it on. He never told you because he was trying to protect you. He wanted to spare you from living in fear. He was trying to find a way to fix it before it could touch Liam. He even enrolled in a drug trial before his accident. I'm sorry I never said this sooner. But I see you from afar, raising that little boy with such strength and grace. You deserve to know the truth. With regret and hope, Marianne. Maya read it twice, then a third time. The letter slipped from her hands and floated to the floor like a quiet bomb. The heart condition. Was that why Liam had collapsed that night? Was it a warning sign? Her pulse quickened. She rushed to her laptop and pulled up Liam's test results. Then she called his doctor. Appointments were made. Blood drawn, tests run again. She didn't sleep for 2 days. Ethan came over one evening with Thai takeout, smiling until he saw her face. Hey, what happened? She handed him the letter. He read it in silence. His eyes narrowed. He leaned back, rubbing his temple. Why didn't Daniel tell you? Maya exhaled shakily. Maybe he thought love meant protecting me from the truth. Ethan looked at her, soft but firm. Love doesn't hide the truth, it shares the burden. The words pierced her. That night, Ethan stayed, holding her hand while she sat by Liam's crib, waiting for answers. Again. 2 weeks later, they had them. The heart condition was present, but it was mild, manageable. With medication and monitoring, Liam could live a full, healthy life. Maya broke down in the parking lot. Ethan knelt in front of her, brushing her tears away. You don't have to carry this alone anymore, Maya. She looked at him. Really looked. And something in her heart unlocked. Spring arrived, ushering in new colors, new smells, new warmth. Maya had started writing again, journaling, blogging, sharing pieces of her journey with other young widows and mothers. Her story found its way into a local magazine. Emails started pouring in. Women thanking her for saying the things they couldn't, for giving their pain a voice. One day, after a speaking event at a women's wellness retreat, Ethan showed up with Liam in a baby carrier, both of them wearing matching sunglasses. We came to pick up the famous writer, he teased. Maya laughed, kissed Liam's chubby cheek, then looked up at Ethan. That day, something shifted again. She realized she loved him, not as a replacement for Daniel, but as the man who showed up in her worst moment and stayed to see her rise. But love, even in its purest form, can be terrifying. Weeks passed. Ethan was planning to take a job in another city, a bigger hospital, better pay, a clearer path. Maya found herself standing between wanting him to chase his dreams and wanting him to stay. She didn't tell him how she felt, not right away. But one afternoon, as they sat on a park bench watching Liam toddle across the grass, Ethan finally broke the silence. I'm not taking the job in Denver. She blinked. What? Why not? He turned to her. Because everything I want is right here. Her throat tightened. You don't have to say anything, he continued. I just wanted you to know. I didn't stay because you needed saving. I stayed because you made me feel found. Maya took a long breath. Then she reached for his hand. You make me brave again, and I think I'm finally ready to stop surviving and start living. That summer, under the golden evening sun, Maya stood in her backyard surrounded by friends and family. A small table held 2 candles, one for Daniel and one for the new chapter. Ethan stood beside her, not as a hero, not as a savior, but as a partner, as someone who chose to love not the perfect version of her, but the real one. And when he whispered his promise that day, it wasn't grand. It was simple. I will walk with you, through storms and sunshine, not ahead, not behind, but beside you. Always. Liam grew up healthy, mischievous, and kind. Maya turned her blog into a full-time platform, helping other widowed mothers navigate grief and healing. And Ethan? He built a life not around saving lives, but around being present in them. They weren't perfect, but they were whole. And that was more than enough. Because in the end, this wasn't just a story about loss. It was a story about rediscovery, about the truth that love doesn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it walks in gently, with a stethoscope around its neck, a soft smile, and a willingness to stay. If this story touched your heart, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need a little hope today. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an inspiring story like this. And I'd love to hear from you. What's one lesson about love or healing that has changed your life? Drop it in the comments below. Let's support each other on this journey. Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes love arrives when you least expect it. And in the most beautiful ways.